And so it was. The Zhao dynasty lasted 810 years. And apparently the two of them hit it off. They went off into the forest and left all the other people behind and spent many weeks or months in meditation together. And there, Kyong Tai Kung initiated Zhao Manwang into the secrets that will make him the greatest ruler of the most profound dynasty. So, what is it that he taught him? The history books summarize it as the 6 teachings of Kyong Tai Kung, or in Cantonese, Tai Kung Lok To. So this Tai Kung Lok To has never been written down, but mercifully, some of it has been passed down orally and forms the basis for which many of the great philosophers, military strategists, it's a source book, it's a source material. And what happened was apparently it includes all the secrets about heaven and earth, man's relationship with heaven, earth, with each other, the ruler's etiquette in relation to all his staff, personnel, to the public, the social contract between heaven and earth and man and heaven, man and man. Taught him everything that he needs to know to be the perfect ruler. So Zhao Manwang loves knowledge, but again, he doesn't like war. And he tells, all this is great, but what's it going to do with me? I mean, you know, I'm just a simple guy, right? I'm teaching these people how to live a good life. Why are you telling me all this about how to run a great kingdom and, you know? So what happened was, in the time that they spent together, the people realized that Zhao Manwang came back and looked different. He had this aura about him, enlightenment. Came back and he led his kingdom and grouping to even greater heights. So famous was he that more and more people came. In fact, one of the things that Zhao Manwang did, which, you know, I wish the world could understand better, was to promote free trade. Now, the Shang dynasty had trade. They were great traders. They used cowrie shell as currency, and there was a lot of barter trade. So you came with a horse and you wanted to exchange it for 2 pigs, or you know, you wanted to exchange it for a cow. That's what you did. But there was also manufacturing in the Shang dynasty time. They actually had factories. They produced porcelainware, bronzeware, household goods, whatever. They also made food. They made bread. But what the Shang did was, because they were a military nation, they had these strong fortifications. And if you came as a trader and you were not a Shang person, you had to trade outside the castle walls, designated area. And you had to pay taxes. You had to pay tariffs. There were quotas in what you produce, because if clash with something they produce, they didn't want you to sell too much of that or none at all. So there were rules. But Zhao Manwang, in his generosity and openness and his deep respect for other people, actually saw people trading, and he said to his men, he says, why are they outside our, you know, sort of our compound? And he says, this is what everybody does, this is what Shang does, this is what everybody does, the neighbor on the left and the neighbor on the right, these are the rules. Zhao Manwang said, but hang on, these guys are bringing us stuff from so far away. They are very good people because they travel so far, they get robbed, sometimes their goods get destroyed, right? And then these things, they're so beautiful, we don't have them. They are benefactors to us. Why are we keeping them out like they're wild animals? Open the gates. All the traders can trade within the city. So, first barrier gone, no fortification, no. Then he said, how come these guys come in and they have to pay taxes? He says, well, that's how all governments survive. We have to tax. Zhao Manwang says, yes, we need money, obviously we need resources to survive. But if they bring in trade, what happens is we have more goods flowing around. That in itself is increasing our lifestyle. No tax. No tax, no tariffs, no physical barriers. The guy was the father of free trade in the world. So more and more people came and trade. Who wants to go to the Shang kingdom and trade when you've got to be outside the fortifications? That you've got to pay taxes, you've got to pay bribes. So you come to his place, no bribes? No bribes. His time, no bribes. Whew, some huge expression, isn't it? The whole world should scream, no bribes. No bribes. right? So the people came in free trade, they were welcome, and they rushed into his kingdom, and he also opened his doors. They asked him, what does it take to be a Chow national or Chow person? And he says, do you like this country? Do you want to be part of this? They said, yes. He says, come. So the people migrated to his place. They were probably the biggest magnet for talent, person for person per capita in the world. They were the biggest magnet. Forget about all you've learned about Europe and America and whatever other countries that went through periods of mass migration. Chow was the biggest magnet for mass migration because when they came to his kingdom, they found they were welcome. There was no discrimination. Oh dear, what a big expression. No discrimination. Because Kyong Tai Kung told him, we were all children of heaven. There is no such thing as race. There is no such thing as some special grouping. All of us were subject to the same rules. So his Sifu said that, that's good enough for him. So people came and lived there. Nobody would say, you wear this kind of fox fur, sit over there. You tiger fur, sit over there. There's no such. They were welcome. No barriers, no bribes, no corruption, and no discrimination. The people love being part of Chow Kingdom. Free music, free education. They felt it was their joy to give education, to teach, to share knowledge. It was a great thing. Sharing knowledge was like sharing a cup of tea. It was great, didn't cost much. So the people, suddenly the Chow Kingdom just exploded. People just kept coming in. And in fact, their neighbors, except for the Shang Kingdom, sort of said, our plot of land is actually bigger than yours. Why don't we just call it Chow Kingdom as well? We just merge. And all the neighbors started merging. They said, it's all right, you're our king, you're our great king. And what happened was, not only was it the first center for free trade, it was the first center for international arbitration. International arbitration, that's a big word. We're just beginning to have arbitration around the world today. Now, what happened was, such was the fame of Chow Man Wong as a just, humane, benevolent, wise, corruption-free, loving, caring humanist, that all these leaders from all over the world coming, with all kinds of animals back, walking freehand, thousands of them, whenever there any dispute that they couldn't solve, they said, there is a great wise sage king called Chow Man Wong. Let's go and find him to solve it for us. So they have on record hundreds of kings and dukes and all kinds of tribal leaders from all over the world who had border disputes or fights that couldn't be resolved, who had paternity suits or whatever the case, maybe they couldn't resolve and they're going to fight to the death. They said, why kill each other? Let's find out the truth. Go and see Chow Man Wong. And they came from everywhere, on camel, on horseback, on foot, to go and see Chow Man Wong because he was the greatest. So there's a story about these two kings that had fought a border war for such a long time. They were in danger of wiping each other out. So they decided, they supposedly came from as far away from another continent. They came all the way to see Chow Man Wong. And apparently the story is told that from the border of Chow Kingdom, right to the capital city when they met Chow Man Wong, the two of them went from eternal enemies to became brothers for life. Why the conversion? Because the two of them saw how Chow people treated each other with the lai, with the custom, with the civility, with the courtesy, with the respect and genuine affection for each other. And by the time they saw Chow Man Wong, they both knelt down and cried and said, we are no longer enemies. There's nothing to arbitrate. We are now brothers for life. Because we realized that if we came to the Chow Kingdom, we are not even fit to be your peasant. We're not even equivalent in moral terms to your peasants and your slaves. The reason for that was, from the border of Chow to the capital city, they witnessed for themselves that old people were never walking unattended, that some neighbor, some person in the street would come and help them. Poor people were never looked down upon by rich people, they were given a hand. Neighbors shared things. Fights not a single fight from the border to the capital city. All they heard was music, prayer, people being kind, nice to each other. And when it came to a boundary dispute, they found, you see, under the Chow system of agriculture, everybody was given plots of land, every family. And land in between two plots of land is state land, public land. And public land is cultivated jointly by the neighbors. So this is the rub. This is land that we cultivate that everybody get to use, so we must do the best job for it. They so love their king and country that they gave their best efforts to cultivating the public land in between more than their own private land. So these kings came in and they just cried. They said, who are we to call ourselves kings when the humble peasants have a sense of civic consciousness and righteousness bigger than we as kings who rule the land? So this is the foundation, this is the basis upon which Chow leapfrogged everybody. All right, in the remaining 5 minutes I have here, I really didn't make a good start yet, but the Shang dynasty were aware, look, there's this neighbor of ours, there were a bunch of country hillbillies who were more interested in growing grain, but they're growing huge quantities, all kinds of people, wise men, you know, talented men, great warriors, they're all moving in there and calling themselves Chow people. This is not looking good, buddy. This is not looking good. So what they did was, on the pretext of making friends with Chow Man Wong, they brought him over and they gave him titles and all that, and they jailed him for 7 years. And during those 7 years, they did everything to destroy Chow Man Wong. They really did. Beat him up, tortured him, brainwashed him, threw women at him, threw food at him, threw wine at him. Chow Man Wong wasn't interested. Apparently he was more of a vegetarian than anything else. He wasn't really interested in any of those. So he was keeping to himself. So what happened was, they invited his eldest son, his heir, to the Shang kingdom, and there the Vixen spirit, the concubine of the last Shan king, asked him to be her private tutor in music because he was the most musically gifted person that ever walked on earth. So he taught her all kinds of music, but she really was only interested in him coming a little bit closer. And he was straight as a pole. He just wasn't interested. He stood his ground and said, no, I'm sorry, I'm here to teach music. And she says, am I not beautiful? He says, not as beautiful as my lute. But anyway, try as she might, he refused, wasn't interested, very noble, honorable young man. So she ordered him executed. So Chow Man Wong's son, eldest son and heir was not just executed, he was chopped to bits. He was minced. And because they knew Chow Man Wong was a highly spiritual person, they wanted to destroy him spiritually. They put the mince into meatballs, char siu baos to serve Chow Man Wong. And you know, this is what lengths they went to get him. But then all the dukes and all the noblemen around the world decided enough is enough. They put their money together and they went to bribe the last Shang king. Gave him all the things that he likes: gold, jewelry, women, best wine, treasures, and said, look, Chow Man Wong is dying. There's not much left of him. You know, why don't you just let him die in peace at home? So the Shang king said, well, look at this guy, I mean, he's in jail for 7 years, tortured, you know, all right, take him. So they took him out. He came back. Apparently nobody in the Chow kingdom could recognize Chow Man Wong because he really was just skin and bones, and he was, you know, he was really, really aged and beaten up. But so he came back, went through that 7 years of trial and tribulation, and still he didn't want more. He didn't want more. But his Sifu says there's something called destiny and there's something called the mandate of heaven. Tin Meng.